The life and sad ending of Tom Conway. Tom Conway was born Charles Sanders on September 15, 1904, in St. Petersburg, into a wealthy family in pre-Bolshevik Revolution Russia. Thomas Charles Sanders might have followed his father as a rope manufacturer and inherited several estates. But the Russian Revolution came, and Tom, age 13, George, age 11, sister Margaret, age 5, together with their parents, fled to England, leaving most of their wealth in the hands of the Bolsheviks. The brothers attended Dunhurst and Bedel's private schools, and eventually Brighton College. After college, Tom went to northern Rhodesia, where he worked in gold, copper, and asbestos mines, and even attempted ranching. Frustrated and, quote, pretty well fed up to the teeth with his failure, he borrowed passage home. In England, Conway worked as an engineer in a carpentry factory and later sold safety glass. His acting talent was discovered by a representative from a little theater group who persuaded him to join them. Conway eventually worked for the Manchester Repertory Company and toured with them in over 25 plays. He also appeared in BBC radio broadcasts. Brother George persuaded him to come to Hollywood. To prevent confusion on the part of the public, they tossed a coin to see who would have to change his name. Tom lost, thereby becoming Tom Conway. Conway began work at MGM, eventually appearing as a contract player in 12 films, including a bit part in Miss Miniver in 1942. Brother George, tiring of B-film appearances in RKO's Falcon series, and with better roles at two studios looming on the horizon, offered Tom his big break. In The Falcon's Brother in 1942, George was conveniently eliminated by a Nazi sniper so that Tom, as Tom Lawrence, could inherit the role. Conway played the role with even greater success than that of his brother in the next 10 installments, concluding with The Falcon's Adventure in 1946. During those years, he also appeared in Val Lewton's Cat People in 1942, I Walked with a Zombie in 1943, and The Seventh Victim in 1943. These led to two major film appearances: Universal's One Touch of Venus in 1948 with Ava Gardner and Eve Arden, and Warner Brothers' Painting the Clouds with Sunshine in 1951. Amidst the collapse of the studio system, Tom found his opportunities shrinking. There were to be no further major roles for him. His next film was Bride of the Gorilla in 1951. Alert to new possibilities for work, he accepted the part of homicide detective Mark Saber in the television series Mark Saber in 1951. Conway also made several mystery films in England during the same period. He played a cameo role as a bearded and bewigged Sir Kay in Prince Valiant in 1954, with two brief lines. Back in the States, there were guest appearances on TV's Rawhide, Adventures in Paradise, both in 1959, and Perry Mason in 1957. In October 1957, Tom turned in a brilliant performance as ventriloquist Mark Colati in Alfred Hitchcock Presents, in 1955's chilling tale, The Glass Eye. He appeared regularly as the boyfriend on The Betty Hutton Show in 1959. Conway also lent his voice to 101 Dalmatians in 1961. His final appearance was uncredited part in What a Way to Go in 1964. In his personal life, Conway had a successful career, but his alcoholism made him no longer himself. He first married Queenie Leonard in 1958, but their relationship was over by 1963. George Sanders broke off all contact with him over his drinking. Then, Conway married Lillian Eggers in 1941. They divorced in 1953. While he and his second wife had not publicly divorced, he had a meeting encounter with Barbara Payton in 1951. In mid-1965, failing eyesight and prolonged bouts with alcohol took their toll on Conway in his last years. Conway underwent cataract surgery during the winter of 1964-1965. In September of 1965, Tom briefly returned to the headlines when he was discovered living in a $2 a day room in Venice, California flophouse. His last years were marked with further visits to the hospital. It was there that former sister-in-law Zsa Zsa Gabor visited him one day and gave him $200. Sadly, the following day, the hospital called to say that Conway had left with the $200, gone to his girlfriend's, and died in her bed.